This disparate assemblage of men called together by Jesus into community for one purpose: to carry God's mission for a new and loving relationship with his people to the world. Even now, they may not yet truly understand what is in store for them. The disciples were gathered together on a bridge between two worlds. On one side of the bridge is the world of the body, a fundamental existence driven by the need for food, water, and shelter. On the other side of the bridge was the world of the mind, driven by complex thought and ingenuity, which may have brought them closer to the higher concept of God. Don't we, as disciples of Christ, also live on this bridge? Perhaps we shift from one side or the other as circumstances warrant. Perhaps these shifts place us at risk of losing our balance and falling prey to the baseness of our biological existence, or maybe to retreat into isolation and separation. So what is it about these first disciples which differentiates them from us? Well, they were the first disciples to be in relationship with the living God. They were the first to learn of and experience prophecies fulfilled. They were the first to fly solo, leaving the comfort of their locality to set forth into the wider world. They were the first to benefit from the assistance of a divine mediator and advocate. With this gospel, we see Jesus as a high priest, not as a rabbi to the masses, not as a prophet confronting authority, not as a wandering miracle worker, but as a mediator and advocate between God and the first disciples. Jesus, the advocate, affirms to God all that he has portrayed to his disciples, that God is the source of all knowledge, and that he, Jesus, is God's representative, spokesperson, and beloved child. While Jesus was with the disciples, he protected them in God's name. Jesus, the mediator, knows that he is mere footsteps from the cross. He asks God to protect the disciples with the same loving care that he has given to Jesus. He asks God to sanctify the disciples in the truth, to settle the mantle of holiness upon them, to set them apart from the world so they may remain in the truth. Jesus knows that when he has ascended to heaven to resume his place at God's right hand as mediator and advocate for all of us believers, the disciples will be alone to experience all that the world will fling at them: suspicion, vilification, poverty, and death. For upon witnessing the ascension of Jesus Christ, which was this past Thursday, the disciples were transformed into apostles. David A. Bednar's definition of an apostle is a missionary, bearing testimony of the reality and divinity of Jesus Christ in all the world. These first apostles are no longer men seated at the feet of the rabbi, no longer men grieving the terrible loss of a friend and master, no longer a tightly knit community of travelers and witnesses. They will no longer follow Jesus as a group, but go out from Jerusalem as individual leaders to give testimony to everything Jesus. There is no testimony without a test. Those first disciples passed their test. They challenged and questioned. They witnessed and healed. They were given the authority to carry out and sanctify those through God's love, knowing that Jesus would be with them in their hearts always. How have we scored on the test? As disciples, have we studied the teachings of the Bible, lived in community of love, given and accepted forgiveness, confessed to the sins of our lives, resolved to change our lives for good, engaged in the acceptance of all people? As apostles, have we stepped outside of our comfort zone to share the good news of Jesus Christ, to advocate for the faithful, to mediate for the helpless, the hapless, and the homeless, to seek for justice and the dignity of every human being? Next Sunday is Pentecost. We line up to take that test once again. It's not often that we are given repeated opportunities to take a test, and an open book test at that. And just what does that test consist of? We review and affirm questions stated in our baptismal vows. Are the baptismal vows limited only to the baptized? I think not. They are statements of intention which anyone may live by. They give us, the apostles of today, the knowledge, wisdom, strength, and determination to proclaim our testimony to the world. Amen.